Now in this video, I'm going to try my hand at making 1 gallon of coffee wine. Hi, I'm Charles and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. Okay, to make this wine, we will be using the following. We're going to be using 1 cup of coffee beans, not ground coffee, but coffee beans. We're going to be using up to 4 cups of brown sugar, light or dark, that's your choice. I'm going to be using, in my case, Premier Blanc Red Star yeast. If you're a Lavin user, that would be EC118 in your case. We're going to be using 1 black tea bag for our tannin substitute. We're going to be using the juice of 1/2 of a lemon for our acid blend substitute. We're going to be using 1 gallon or 4 liters of water. We need something to do primary fermentation in. Airlock with stopper. Hydrometer, if you want to measure how much alcohol your wine is capable of becoming. And in my case, I'm using Star Sands to sanitize all of my utensils, pots and pans, glassware, and things like that. And that's what I'm going to be using to make this wine. Now then, what we want to do here over the stove is that we want to begin by pouring off a little bit of our water so that we can get our teabag/tannin substitute mixture ready, and the rest of the water, or as much as possible, in the pot. And this is just filtered water. You can use whatever water you consider to be appropriate. We want to bring our teabag mixture up to a simmer, and we want to get our rest of our water up to a boil. All right, now that our water's come up to a good boil, what we're going to do now is that we want to add in our brown sugar. And let's just go ahead and incorporate that in, get that dissolved, which does not take long at all. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and add our coffee beans, which I was going to put in a straining bag, but since I didn't, I'm not going to worry about it. And then we want to let this come back up to a boil before we take it off the heat and let it come down to room temperature. All right, now that our mixture has finally come up to a boil, or back to a boil, we can do a couple of things. 1, we can turn off the heat. And 2, we can go ahead and add in our tannin substitute. Go ahead and put the cover back on and let that come down to room temperature. All right, our coffee mixture has come down to lukewarm temperature. And now we need to transfer it into our fermenter. And now, this is when I regret not having used the straining bags in the first place, because now I've got to strain out the coffee beans. It's never a pretty thing, but that's going to be the process until I can get all of this in. All right, that is that. What I need to do now is to slice up our lemon/acid blend substitute. Let's go ahead and get that in the mix. And it looks like our hydrometer reading is coming in at 1.180. Now, before I add my yeast, I want to give my basically sweetened coffee one last little shake. And that's just to put in just a little bit more oxygen. And with that having been done, all I need to do is, pardon me, go ahead and add our 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. I mean, I don't want to just dump it in there, but it's a pretty small opening. So kind of spread it around best you can. And let's give it a slight little swirl, which is more than enough. And at this point, all I need to do is all right, I've taken the opportunity to give it one last good shake. And after rinsing everything off with Star Sands and filling everything up to the proper levels, stick in our airlock. And what we need to do is dress it up just a little bit by giving us a bit of information that as time goes on, we're likely to forget. 1, we're making coffee wine. And 2, just so we know how long it's been sitting around, we give it today's date. Hopefully, if I can get it on this straight. And last but not least, if you've taken a hydrometer reading, you might want to give it the starting gravity. And there we go. We've now started our coffee wine on the 22nd of this date. And we've got a starting gravity of 1.180. And what we want to do, just like with all the rest of our wines, is that probably for the next, let's say the next 3 days, go ahead and give it a good shake. And then after that, leave it alone. Let it sit in the primary, probably for about, since we're not dealing with fruit, anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how much sediment we've got, or at least we've got coming in on the bottom. And then go ahead and rack it into secondary. Let it sit in secondary for, again, 6 to 8 weeks, and keeping an eye on the least level. And then when you feel that you've got a sufficient amount of least, go ahead and rack it, and continue to rack it until your wine gets clear. We'll do hopefully a 6-month taste testing, and then that will be followed up by a 1-year taste testing to see if coffee wine is, some people call it an acquired taste. Some people just plain love it. So we'll see how that goes. But there we go, coffee wine. Okay, our 12 months are up. It's now time to go ahead and give this one a taste. DIY fermentation coffee wine, born for 2021, ABV of 11.81%, and it's been pasteurized. All right, from the onset, I mean, it's not clear. It's pretty cloudy. I mean, not pretty cloudy. It's hazy. I'll put it to you that way. But trying to make this a very short video, we're just going to cut to the chase on this one. Break out my favorite winged corkscrew. The initial sniff, to find out if I've made vinegar or not, indicates that there is a slight coffee aroma coming from this. I'll pour myself yay much. I mean, there's no sediment on the bottom, so I did a good job of making sure that this was as clear as it's going to get. Taking a good whiff. You don't get like a heavy coffee aroma like you would with like a fresh pot of hot black coffee or anything like that. It's a bit on the light side. Once you get the right whiff, you can detect that small amount of alcohol, that nearly 12% alcohol on the back of the nose. But what it looks like and what it smells like is not the same thing as what it tastes like. So let's go ahead and taste what we made here. First impressions, it's not as back sweet as I thought it was. It's a touch on the dry side, which is fine because with my coffee, I just like my coffee black. Okay, maybe every now and then I might put in a little cream for variety's sake, but I like my coffee black. With this one, you're almost tempted to say that you're not quite sure you're really drinking coffee. The coffee flavor is, I mean, it's there, but it's just very light. It does have a fair amount of dryness on the tongue. I think also I can say that the amount of acidity could have been adjusted downward a notch, which is probably the recommendation that I'll make in the change that I'll make in the original ingredients list on the original video that I did a year ago. But overall, it just has a very dry feeling on your mouth. I mean, it's not bone dry or anything like that. I mean, there is a level of sweetness there, but it just leaves the middle and back of your tongue just like a very dry sensation. I mean, overall, my impressions of this is that, I mean, it's okay, sort of thing. I'm glad I tried it just to see that I could make something I've never heard of called coffee wine before. I'm sure there are probably improvements that can be made to this recipe that I'll probably indicate, as I said before, in the original video, ingredients list, in the description section of that video. Not very many changes. Bump the acidity down a bit. Personal preference would be increase the amount of back sweetening a tad. But even with all of that having been said, I mean, overall, yeah, I mean, it's okay. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. It's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not something that I would never make again. It might be a while before I do make this again, though, because I'm not really that impressed with coffee wine, apparently. I don't know, maybe somehow increasing the amount of coffee flavor or by processing the beans, maybe adding instant coffee to help things out a bit. I mean, there's no real bitterness per se. No, I really wouldn't call it bitterness. I'm picking up more of the acidity than bitterness, if at all. So yeah, short video, my general impressions on the batch of coffee wine that I made 12 months ago. With all my videos, and if I make it, I'm going to at least taste it. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. So there, if you like what you see here, please click on the subscribe and notify buttons, and I'll continue to do these more often. I've got quite a number of batches of wine that are slowly coming of age and will require taste testing. So if I make it, I'm going to taste it. Simple as that. It might not all be in the same video like some of the other channels can do, but if you wait around for it, it will get done. So until then, I'll see you in the next video.